Hey there, Heather Ho, there's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to another Stone Cold Hockey video during the 78-79 Boston Bruins to try to get Don Cherry the title before Harry Sinden fires him. As you can see, four divisions in play. Conferences kind of did not matter. It was just set a placeholder, if you will. 8 teams in one conference, 9 teams in another. In the Patrick division, you have the Rangers, Flyers, and Islanders looking good. 79 Rangers were Stanley Cup finalists in real life. Philadelphia had a good run, but Bertie Perron got a stick in the eye of his eye mask, and basically that was the end of his career. The Islanders were hot and basically ready to explode for a dynasty, and the Atlanta Flames were perennial playoff team, but just couldn't get over the hump. No playoff series wins. The Smite division with the Blackhawks, Canucks, and Blues. Yeah, I know it's a weak division. 25 points for Vancouver. They would be way behind Atlanta in the Patrick division. They would make the Adams division. They would be last in the Adams division, and they would be last in the North division. Yeah, they have a playoff spot alongside St. Louis and Colorado, who both have six. Yeah, Vancouver, St. Louis, and Colorado all have 7 or fewer wins. They're the worst team around. Chicago, the team, Tony Esposito was getting up there in age, but the Blackhawks were still there. The Canucks were starting to age gracefully. The Blues were odd and all that. They had to play in what they called the Ralston Purina Checker Dome, and the Colorado Rockies would be sour. And then Don Cherry came for the 1979-80 season, but they didn't improve. The Abs division: Buffalo, Boston, Minnesota. Buffalo looking nice. 1980, they would get to the Stanley Cup semifinals. The Boston Bruins, our Boston Bruins, after 33 games, 17 wins, 12 losses, 4 ties, 38 points. Turned up to Cherry out. We got to the semifinals in real life in 79. Minnesota North Stars, 12, 13, and 7. Decent team. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are bad in this one, but in 79, they actually made the playoffs. They actually had to play Atlanta and then Montreal in the playoffs. But yeah, Toronto really had troubles because, the strife and all that. Roger Nielsen would be fired and be hired in 24 hours because no one wanted to coach Toronto. You know, that pales in comparison to the 1980 offseason for 79-80 offseason for the Leafs trying to replace Roger Nielsen and Jim Gregory as GM. Don Cherry almost became coach, but he had a handshake agreement with Colorado. And Scotty Bowman almost went to Toronto, but he went to Buffalo instead. They brought back Punch and Black, and boy, howdy, that team regressed. Nevertheless, North Division, Montreal, being Montreal, the 3-time defending Stanley Cup champs. Of course, in real life, they had their 4th. The Los Angeles Kings were starting to get better with Roki and the Triple Crown line looking good. Pittsburgh were in strife too. Twice they almost bankrupted in the 70s. Washington were a team on the rise trying to get into the playoffs fast as they can. And Detroit were in the dead things era. So the goal scoring leader is Guy Chouinard of Atlanta with 29. Marcel Dion has 25. Guy Lafleur 24. Our best guy is Peter McNabb with 16. He's 18. Points wise, Marcel and Brian are tied, but Marcel would have the lead on goals scored. Third place is Guy Lafleur. Peter McNabb 7th in scoring. Well, that's pretty impressive. Goaltending, John Davidson has the best goals against, 9-1-3 with a 2.3. Ken Dryden second, Billy Smith third. Our guys, Cheevers is 14th and Gilbert is 21st. Points percentage does justice everyone. Well, actually, LA would have a better would have first place because they have better points percentage because they have 2 more wins than 2 games than Montreal. Highlights wise, best stars, 20 hat tricks and all that. No hat tricks. Well, actually, Butch Goring scored a hat trick against the Islanders, his future team, the next year, and they still lost. Top games right now: St. Louis, Minnesota, from November 1st when it was 7-6. Atlanta, Detroit from December 13th when Detroit had a 4-1 lead in the third period and it looked like all was there. Oh yeah, Rookie didn't play for the. He went free agency that year. Oh, I thought he was still with the Kings. Atlanta scored 5 straight goals at December 13th. And Rangers Islanders October 21st. These two teams left to battle each other. Rangers were up 3-1 and choked it. So let's go to the schedule. We are almost at Christmas time. We play Buffalo our first game. And Jerry Cheevers in net against Don Edwards. Kitchener! Yep. When I yell Kitchener, he's a former Kitchener Ranger. Phil Gilbert and Jim Petty are the backups for Boston. Buffalo's backups are Bob Sauvé and Randy Ireland. Anyway, the our team, the Bruins, we have Rick Middleton, who we fleeced from the Rangers for Ken Hodge Sr., Peter McNabb, who later going to be a good color commentator on Avalanche broadcasts, and unfortunately has died. John the Animal Wensick, gentleman Jean Rattel, great Ranger, but then he became a Bruin in that big 1975 trade, sending was it Carol Vande? Yeah, Carol Vande and Phil Esposito to the Rangers for Brad Park and Jean Rattel, who were Ranger icons. Whom they'll never be Boston Legends. Wayne Crashman, as I call him, or Cashman, 2 goals in Game 7 against Montreal was not enough. Taz O'Reilly, Don Marcotte, Bobby Schmaltz, Al Secord still without the helmet when he went to the Blackhawks. Bob Miller, who looks like Screech from Saved by the Bell. Dwayne Foster, Kitchener. That's Dwayne Foster, sorry. Former Kitchener Ranger who was hot, but Boston misused him. Al Sims, Dick Redmond, Ricky Smith, Gary Doak, Stan Jonathan, great player there. Mike Shecker-Walter, still around. Tom Sunyan, Daniels O'Brien, Mike Milbury down there. Everyone knows about Milbury and the shoe incident at MSG, and of course, him being a terrible GM for the Cupcakes, or the Islanders as I call it. They should be called. I call them Cupcakes. He was a young prospect. Bill Bennett. All right. Buffalo has Rick Martin, Gilbert Perreault, and Rene Robert, the French connection. I think Robert was the first one gone, or was it Martin? But Perreault was a lifer for the Sabres. You know, that team helping Buffalo in the mid-70s. Danny Gare, great player. Don Luce, Kitchener. Craig Ramsey, Rick Sealing, Kitchener. So that's 3 Kitchener Rangers on the 79 Sabres. Andre Savard, Derek Smith, Jerry King Kong Korab. Jacques Richard, who was a big prospect coming out of Atlanta, but he failed miserably. The system failed him, and he was bounced around. Jim Schoenfeld, have another donut. Have another donut. Yes, that guy. Tony McCagney, trying to make a blazing career for African American hockey players. Terry Martin, Gary McAdam, Rick Dudley, Leif Logelin Jr., Bill Haight, Schuselman Gouvernement, Bill Stewart, Ken Bradenbach, Mike Bowler, Larry Playfair, and Richie Dunn. Here we go. We went into the first period. Aggression. Pop-up power play goal. It's alright, because I'm saved by the bell. Because I know there's got to be a picture of him. Hold on here. Here, you see that? Don't those pictures on the right side look like Screech from Saved by the Bell? The Screech haircut, the Screech look, especially on that card. Yeah, see? See, that looks like Screech, does it not? I know what I speak of. He scored from Schmaltz and Foster. 2 minutes later. Bruins took a just Cashman, donuts. But he had it. And a fight between Danny Gare and Bob Miller. So Screech gets into a fight with Danny Gare. These 2 guys really shouldn't be fighting because they're not really fighters. But we actually screw Buffalo around. We actually screw Buffalo because Danny Gare is one of their best players. After Henry was a hit, 2 minutes later, gentlemen, Jean Rattel, his 13th from Foster and Middleton, 2-0 Boston. And now at the end of the period, 2-0 Boston. Second and penalty on us. Al Sims to the box. There's no chance. Rene out there? No. Another chance. Robert. No. Stopped by Mr. Cheever. 3 minutes later. Stan Jonathan. Of course he would. Kill the zone on Derek Smith and Rick Dudley. 3 minutes later. Skiers. Andre Savard. Big goal from Haight and Korab makes it 2-1. I said 3-1. What am I thinking? We tried to come back. Marcotte? No. Peter, Puckin Eater. McNabb his 17th from O'Reilly and Park. 2 more minutes. Oh, what a rush. You know, Road Warrior Animal is 12 from Miller and Marcotte. Miller's been around the net. Buffalo trying to score? No. We do it. Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake. Shake her booty. Shake her booty. Shaker his eighth from Tal and Jonathan, and that's going to be it for Everett's. Randy Ireland's going to come in because why not? Let him finish it off. It's good! Loose is on the loose. With 39 seconds left, he scores from Gare, makes it 5-2. But we're rolling along, I hope. I've seen this before. 5 minutes later, another chance, loose? No. Another chance, Skill, Pepper power goal. Danny Gare has 17 from Perot and Derek Smith, makes it 5-3. Uh-oh. We're trying to kill the clock here. King Kong Korab. Do we take the chance? Martin misses. Martin! Save. Whew. Very good. Schmaltzy on the power play from Paz. He's got 6-3. So we breathe a little bit easier. Cal gets hit. And they can't score from that. Paz does from Alton. I think that's a 3.9 for Terry O'Reilly. Crushed Buffalo. We don't deserve to be number one in our division. It's not Wednesday, it's second of the night, 8-3 from Middleton and Park. Yeah, they're like, that's holiday tonight, and Randy Ireland got peppered for 3 goals. So we win the game 8-3. Both teams were 18-12-4, like them. Buffalo did make it interesting. Savard, Luce, and Gare, but we scored Miller, Rattel, McNabb, Wensick, Walton, Schmaltz, O'Reilly, and Wensick. So I think we had 7 different goal scorers. I think. Yes, we did. And then Wensick scored his second of the night. So that's what happens. We crush Buffalo. Christmas Day, no games as mandated by the NHL. Rangers lose to Atlanta. That's a shocker. Philly and Detroit tie. Leafs lose to the Islanders. And St. Louis crushes Minnesota despite the fact they only have 7 wins. Our next game's in Leafland. Chicago beats St. Louis. Big win for them. Buffalo beats Colorado as expected. Montreal crushes Detroit. Minnesota takes down Washington. And LA Pittsburgh tie. So we go to Toronto. We go to Maple Leaf Gardens. And Jim Petty comes in net for Boston. No Cheevers, no Chabert. They decide to go. So no Cheevers, no Chabert. So Petty is in net for the Bruins against the Leafs, probably thinking that the Leafs are going to suck so badly. Palmatier, the main goalie for Toronto, the Popcorn Kid, as they call him, Paul Harrison and Pierre Hamel are waiting in the wings. As usual, when we do the 3-game block, we don't talk about the Bruins more than once, unless I have to, but I don't think so. All right, the Leafs. Lanny McDonald, great right winger, great player for the Leafs, was the hero in 1978 against the Islanders in the quarterfinals, sending the Leafs to the semifinals. Unfortunately, he wouldn't last long. The next season, he would be traded to Colorado kind of out of spite by punching him black. Daryl Sittler, one of the greatest Leafs of all time. I have his hockey card signed, mind you. So, yeah, I have a Daryl Sittler signed card. Booyaka Shah. Cutter time. Greatest Leaf of all time. Sorry, Matt Sundin. Walt McKegney came around. I think he was traded from Colorado or what? I can't remember. I think McKegney didn't go to Colorado. I know it was Paymont. Yeah, Daryl Sittler, was chastised for that Hockey Night in Canada thing showdown. Tiger Williams, a fan favorite before he left for Vancouver, was traded to Vancouver for Rick Five, although that kind of worked in a sense. He was a good guy. Borje Salmi, one of the greatest defensemen of all time in the Leafs. I think the greatest Leafs defenseman of all time. Sorry, Bobby Bond. Or Tim Horton. But yeah, freaking Borje Salmi was an icon. Dan Maloney, part of the Maloney triplets with Dave and Don. Yeah, Dan Maloney doing his job. Ron Ellis, number 6 in your program, still playing with the Leafs. John Anderson, Pat Boutette, was okay. Ian Turnbull, who once scored 5 goals in a game against the Red Wings. Jimmy Jones, Jimmy Jump. I have his baseball card. Well, it's a different Jimmy Jones. Jerry Butler, who went to Vancouver in the 5 trade. Ron Wilson. I don't think it's the same one who was the coach of the Leafs. Was it? I don't remember. Dave Hutchison, Jerry Monahan, Bruce Boudreau. Yes, that Bruce Boudreau. Lawrence Stamler, Rocky Saganuk, Dave Burrows, who was an okay defenseman. Joe Quenneville. Yes, that Joe Quenneville. Trevor Johansson, who went to Colorado. And then the goalies. Here we go. 4 minutes into the game. I make the game. Let's go! Landon McDonald has 16. Monahan was his first assist. Final goal by number 7, Landon McDonald. Assist by number 21, Jerry Monahan. And by number 14, Pat Boutet. Time 4 minutes. Trying to do the Paul Morris PA guy. So yeah, Laney scores 4 minutes later. No, we don't. We have blue die because we're on the road. Toronto takes a chance. No. Toronto, unfortunately, no problems. Let's go. Happy catch from McDonald makes it 2-0. I know we should not have gone with Petty. I should have changed him. But the rules are you're not allowed to change the goalies. The computer randomly selects them. You can change mid-game if you have to. Toronto's just trying to kill the clock on us. Chance for McNabb. 1 minute later. I give him a chance by Stamler. No. 5 minutes later. We have another chance. Jeez. We can't do Palmetier. Like, how the hell are we not scoring on Mike Palmetier? Fuck. 3 minutes later. We have a chance. They killed the stone on Jonathan Redmond. Fuck. 4 minutes later. Closer. 3 minutes. No problems. Much later. Aggression. Another penalty. And it's going to be the penalty of Hutchison. Do we take advantage? Yes, we do. Pop-out power play goal. Gary Duke. His 5th from McNabb and Animal Wednesday. 2-1. We're close. Empty net? No. Empty net? No. Vexing. Very vexing. We could only score 1 goal on the Popcorn Kid. The good news is Petty may have lost, but he only gave up 2 goals. So Petty did okay. 2 goals in 18 minutes, and then the rest of the way he shone. Even though we lost. That's good, isn't it? So on Thursday, Islanders get upset by Atlanta. LA Montreal tie. Rangers take down Philadelphia. That was not the game in which Brent Pront lost his tie. I think that was January 7th or something, wasn't it? Vancouver beat Buffalo in the Battle of the Expansion Cousins. I think the 7th, wasn't it? No. January 7th. What was the game? Oh, there's an easier way to know. It's an easier way to know. Fuck. Look at the schedule, Cutter. And the Rangers came to town February 17th. That's right. February 17th was the I game. I forgot about that. Well, it doesn't matter. We're not. So anyway, Boston, we go to Montreal. It would be a Saturday night event. Chicago beat the Rangers. Wow. Colorado shocks Minnesota. Vancouver beats LA. Now, normally we do Montreal next. It'll be like, yay, Montreal. But the rules state if I lose or tie in this era, I have to autoplay the next game. And we beat Montreal. I'm as shocked as you are. Chambers beats Bunny. Montreal scored shut in Savard. Better goals by McNabb, Miller, and Mike Shaker Walton. He come out of freaking nowhere, Shaker Walton. So we beat Montreal, which to me is a big shock. Islanders crush Atlanta. Pittsburgh takes down Detroit. St. Louis beats Philly, big win. And Toronto shuts out Washington because Toronto's Toronto. We face Buffalo. Now, there's another caveat. If I can't play the same team twice in one video, so yeah, Boston, Montreal, Boston, Buffalo. But because we've already played Buffalo, we have to sim. And we lose to Buffalo 5-3. Yake. Pittsburgh crushes Detroit 8-6, and the Rangers beat Atlanta 6-5. So on to New Year's Day. Colorado faces LA on New Year's Day, and LA blows them away. Colorado comes back to tie St. Louis, and the Islanders shut out Vancouver 6-0. So that means our game in Chicago must be simulated because we lost the last game. And we tie, which means we have to keep going and simulate. I hate it. I hate this. I hate you all. Man, the game against Colorado we would be in Colorado facing one of the worst teams in the NHL. But since we lost our last game, guess what? Autoplay, 6-3. Gilles Gilbert beat Michel Plus. They were up 3-0. Wow. Delorme, Comeau, and Paymont, who came over to Toronto on the Len McDonald trade. Wow. And then we scored 6 straight goals. Wensick, McNabb, O'Reilly, Foster, Kitchener, Wensick, and Middleton. Okay. And the Rangers win 9-0. So we're in Minnesota. And because we won our last game, we must play Minnesota. So we're in Minnesota, and they decide that Jim Petty is in net against Gilles Meloche, who was part of the team from the Cleveland Barons. I gotta explain. The Cleveland Barons were in the NHL and brought NHL to Ohio, and everyone wanted Cleveland in the NHL in the 50s and 60s because they were a great AHL team. But Cleveland had problems, and in a strange move, they merged with Minnesota, who also had financial problems. So all the Cleveland players went to Minnesota to become North Stars. Gary Edwards, the Snake, and Pete Lopresti, whose father Sam Lopresti has the record for most saves in an NHL regular season game with 80 in 1941. Start. So the North Stars with Bobby Smith, who would be an icon both for the North Stars and partially for the Montreal Canadiens. Al McAdam, who was the hero of the next year for the North Stars, taking out the 4-time defending Stanley Cup champion Habs in the playoffs. Tim Young, Mike Fiddler on the Roof, Steve Payne, nice try. Glenn Sharpley, Chris Manley, Ron Sanusi, J.P. Parese, who will always be a North Stars legend, despite scoring a major goal for the Islanders in the 75 playoffs in real life. Gary Sargent, Brad Maxwell, who's a good defenseman, Ken Eric Anderson, Tom Younghans, Per Olive Brazar, Mike Pulich, Greg Smith, Sean Potvin, that's Dennis's brother. He was an Islander before he became a North Star. Jack Carlson, part of the Slapshot, the Hanson brothers in Slapshot. Jim Roberts, not that Jim Roberts. Freddie Barrett, Brian Maxwell, Alex Puris, Jim McKenney. Ooh, he's still around. Stop at McAfee. Bill Hoagland and Bill Butters. Everyone knows this Butters. That's rude. 4 minutes into the game, Taylor and Blue died. Middleton gets whacked. Woof. Minnesota. Chance to lose it. Score! Tim Young for 60. Sharpley and Mannery on the line. And a minute later. Was that a chance, Fiddler? No. 4 minutes later. No. No score. And Minnesota, it's Barrett. Did we take advantage? Smith. Let's go. Papa Purple goal. The native son, Stan Jonathan, his first of the season from Redmond and Foster. Of course, Stan Jonathan is a First Nations person. I gotta give him the credit. And then I gotta say Stan the Man Jonathan. I should have said that. Because when I do my stuff, I gotta be careful what I say. 4 minutes in. Shot, no. Lots of time. Aggression. We got a major. O'Reilly. We kind of hurt Minnesota in a sense, but they have 5 minutes to score as many goals as they can. And fortunately for us, they don't. So it's still 1-1 after 2. Wow. 3 minutes later. Action skills. Peter Pumpkin Eater. Pumpkin. His 21st from Rashawn Ratan and Tudon. Much later. They tie. Bobby Smith. Ethan Barrett. 2-2. Much later. We score. Blue dot. Rick stuck in the middle with you. Middleton. His 14 from Al Sims. 3-2. Empty net opportunity now. And Jim Petty gets the win. 3-2. We win. Hi there. Jonathan McNabb Middleton with the goal. That's a weird name. That should be it. Someone's name. Jonathan McNabb Middleton. Yeah. Young and Smith with the goals for Minnesota. So after January 6th, do that. January 7th, we don't play. Monday the 8th, we don't play. We beat the Canucks. Our next game. Where is our next game? I don't know. We have all this high We have a lot of hiatuses. Yeah. There we go. We got Minnesota in the first game. But we already played Minnesota, so I'm going to say no to that. We already played Minnesota. So, and we won 5-2. Great. Petty beats Lopresti. Man, Petty's been on fire. Boston goes by Al Sims, Bobby Miller, Peter McNabb, Bobby Schmaltz, and then Peter McNabb again. Minnesota goes by Smith and Terese. Yeah, I know. We're going through a lot of the season. Because I'm technically Pittsburgh. Okay, so we're in Pittsburgh for the next game. And right now we are second. We're only 1 point back. And we've played half the season. It is an 80-game season, so we played half. We're halfway through the season. Rangers and Islanders are fighting tooth and nail. The Flyers are hanging around. Atlanta's above 500, 45 points. They'd be second in the Smythe, third in the Adams, and probably second in the Norris based on wins. So yeah, geez, Atlanta getting ripped. Whereas teams like Vancouver and St. Louis are in the Smythe. Chicago, well, Vancouver, St. Louis, Colorado's pathetic, 19 points. Second worst is 28. The Adams were neck and neck with Buffalo. Toronto, Minnesota are neck and neck for forward. And the Norris, Montreal is pulling away with LA. Washington and Pittsburgh are fighting it out. Pre-Ovi and pre-Crosby. So yeah, fighting for that third spot. Detroit is basically OUT. Those scoring McNabb's 8th. John Davidson still the best goalie with Billy Smith and Ken Drain around. Jerry Cheever's 15th. And Gilles Jabert's off the list. I guess he hasn't played enough. Eh. One of the massive surprises is a forward Gary Bromley having a better goals against than Gilles Meloche. But so here, there, anywhere. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Do? I think. There you go. I do.